Hello, it's Toaster Party, and today I'm going to go through my top 5 picks for CEDH cards from the Commander Legends 2 Commander decks. So, I didn't have the opportunity to see all of the Commander deck spoilers when I made the top 5 CEDH cards from the main set. So this will be covering the top 5 cards from the Commander decks that were released after the fact. And oh boy, these cards might just be better than the ones in the main set. They were really slow-rolling the powerful CEDH cards. But without further ado, let's get into them. Starting off with number 5, Deep Gnome Terramancer. Well, this card is not Archivist of Ogma. It has the same stats, that being a 2-drop with flash, that's a 2/2. And it triggers off whenever an opponent puts a land into play that's not being just played from their hand. So it triggers off whenever your opponent's fetching, or if they're using land ramp spells like 3 Visits or Nature's Lore. So it still will get you some amount of ramp, which is pretty useful in low-color white decks that don't normally have access to that kind of thing. And while it's definitely not as good as having card draw, it is still definitely something that white has been looking for. And the only way for your opponents to really play around this if they're playing with fetches is to fetch all on the same turn, which is still going to throw off the way they're playing quite a bit. But let's move on to the real heavy hitters of this set, starting with number 4, Durnin of the Yawning Portal. This card is basically a green Prosper for creature spells. It's a very strong resource engine that can drop really massive creatures for 3 less mana, because whenever it swings, you look at the top 4 cards of your library, and you may exile a creature card from among them, and then you may cast that card as long as it remains exiled. And that spell gains Undaunted, meaning it costs 1 less for each opponent. So this card is really powerful, because you don't need to cast those creatures on the turn that you hit them off of Durnin, and you don't even have to have Durnin on the field when this happens. So there's a lot of really powerful cards you can cheat in for way less mana off of this card's effect. There's not a ton that I can think of off of the top of my head, but there's definitely a long list of creatures that you can easily cheese into play with this. And another thing, it doesn't even need to connect. All you have to do is to be able to swing with this card, and then you're getting value. And another thing is that you aren't forced into any specific background for this to be good. You probably would want to try using one of the ones that gives it a bit of evasion, but there's a lot of those in every single color. So it's pretty open-ended as well. There's probably some creature combo that you can perform with this card, and it's probably going to be really, really good. Up next, we have number 3, Black Market Connections. So this is just a way better version of Phyrexian Arena. You get to pay 1 more life for the card draw effect, but this card is also modal, which makes it way better than Phyrexian Arena, which honestly doesn't see a lot of CEDH play. So you get the choice of, instead of just drawing a card, you can choose to create a creature that's a 3/2 with Changeling, and you lose 3 life for that. You draw a card and you lose 2 life, or you can create a treasure token and lose 1 life. So it works for whatever thing you really need. Usually you'll probably want to making the treasure token and drawing the card, but there is a circumstance where you might want to make the Changeling, that being with regards to rely on the party mechanic. I wonder if there's any good cards that rely on the party mechanic in this set. That's all I have to say about that one. Let's move on to number 2, Aboleth Spawn. Well, this card isn't Hull Breacher, but it sure is really great. This is a very hard to remove stacks piece that can interfere with a plethora of combos ranging from World Gorger Dragon, Dockside, and Food Chain. Because whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control that triggers an ability, you may then copy that ability and then choose new targets for it. So say your opponent's using Dockside, you then get Dockside treasures as well, and then you can use all of those before your opponent's Dockside triggers if you have the commanders for it, or the cards on field. And if your opponent's attempting to go off with World Gorger Dragon, you can then just do the same thing, make infinite mana. So this card's a really impactful means of disrupting your opponent. And if your opponent's using ETB advantage effects, this card also can steal those. So we might have lost Hull Breacher, but we did get another really powerful 3-drop flash creature in blue. But on to the number 1 and the most powerful card from the commander decks, Burkos, the Party Leader. So forget Volo, we have a new best choose a background commander. This card is essentially Grim Hireling in the command zone, because whenever it attacks, the defending player loses X life and you create X treasure tokens, where X is the number of creatures in your party. So whenever it swings, you're making a ton of treasures. It is also in the best color for this effect, because hey, it's in black, you can cast it ad nauseum with this. And it also can be paired with any background. The two that I thought off the top of my head is that it perfectly pairs with Street Urchin, because that one allows you to sack those treasures to start pinging your opponent's stuff, which would then also make this as a good Rakdos Turbonaws commander. And it pairs well with the Sword Coast Sailor background, which is a blue background that makes it unblockable if you're swinging at the opponent with the highest life total. So yeah, this card is incredibly powerful. Malcolm is a great commander, and this card is essentially Malcolm without having the Glenhorn Buccaneer combo. But yeah, this card is great, and I am slightly surprised that some of the best cards in this set are the ones that you get in the commander deck. Well, thank you all for watching. Hope you all leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you all have an excellent day.